Tonight, COVID-19, the deadly coronavirus circling the globe.
A virus can have more powerful consequences than any terrorist action.
In an outbreak infecting some 60,000, killing more than 1,300. In Washington, a familiar face returns to the White House as the Democratic presidential candidates struggle to find their footing ahead of Nevada and South Carolina. Plus,
it's almost like a page out of Exodus.
The plague of locusts descending on Africa is like nothing you've ever seen. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
A mad dash to contain the coronavirus. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. Tonight, the number of confirmed coronavirus cases in China has exploded.
15,000 new cases reported in just one day there. And here in the United States, 2 new cases, bringing that total to 15 people.
CBN News national security correspondent Eric Phillips joins us with the latest. Eric?
John and Jenna, the new cases here are people under quarantine after being brought home from Wuhan, which is the epicenter of the disease outbreak. U.S. health officials say the risk to Americans remains low. The newest case of the newly named COVID-19 cropped up at San Antonio's Lackland Air Force Base. The quarantined patient, who had been traveling alone in China, was taken to a local hospital. Health officials warn it may get worse before it gets better.
There may be additional cases that we identify. I do want to prepare you for that. We're still within the potential incubation period for coronavirus for people coming out of Wuhan city in China. We continue to monitor these passengers every day, twice a day, with temperature checks. We're looking at symptoms.
Every precaution has been executed according to plan to keep the individual isolated from the general public. San Antonians should feel confident and continue to go about their lives.
Less than 24 hours before, another case at a San Diego County air base, another designated quarantine space. All of this
as we've seen this spike in the number of cases reported in China.
The numbers exploding by some 15,000 in China in 24 hours. But Dr. Ryan is qualifying that.
And crucially, we understand that most of these cases relate to a period going back over days and weeks and are retrospectively reported as cases since sometimes back to the beginning of the outbreak itself.
The greater concern with regard just to this coronavirus alone is the secrecy and control of the Chinese Communist Party.
Most of the newly confirmed cases outside of China have been aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship, quarantined and docked in Yokohama, Japan. Several Americans are aboard that ship where tensions are running high.
It's getting people's moods down. One of the passengers in the night were keeping other passengers awake, an old lady who was crying for a couple of hours.
Meanwhile, health officials are working feverishly to develop a vaccine that can treat the coronavirus. That's still months away. And there's something else they're looking into. They want to identify the animal source of this epidemic so it doesn't happen again. Jenna and John.
All right, national security correspondent Eric Phillips. Thanks, Eric. Well, joining us now is Mark Hogshead, Vice President of International Programs at World Help, a Christian humanitarian organization responding to the coronavirus in China. Mark, we appreciate you being with us. And right off the bat, a two-parter for you. How dire is the situation in China right now, and how worried should we be right here in the United States?
Well, the situation, obviously, according to the news, it's dire. It's getting worse. We thought we had peaked a couple of days ago, but apparently that's not the case. And from what we hear here in the United States, the risk is low, but obviously with something like this, that can spiral out of control quickly.
Mark, what is World Help doing in some of the most high-risk areas to help out?
With the vaccine being a couple of months away, potentially, we feel like the way we can help is to help resource people in China with masks and other face masks and other items that will help prevent the spread of the disease, as well as food. Individuals in China, the prices of food is skyrocketing. People are stockpiling food, not knowing what lies ahead. So we are helping to resource families through a network of Christian pastors and church planters with food and with face mask protection as well.
Mark, how is the outbreak and quarantines affecting local churches and their ability to minister during times of uncertainty and high anxiety like this?
There's a direct effect on local ministries because people are scared to be outside. A lot of times they're staying in their homes and they're not able to get outside and do what they normally would do as far as ministry goes, or even just daily life type activities. So there's certainly a direct effect.
And how can people at home, how can they help with relief efforts?
Well, with specific relief efforts, as far as World Help goes, $20 provides a face mask and a week's supply of food for an individual in China in the affected areas or just outside of the affected areas to help control the spread. WorldHelp.net/disaster has more information and ways to give and to help with that, with the situation. Also, we're asking people to pray for those who have been affected, pray for those who have lost family members, and pray that a vaccine will come quickly and that steps can be taken to minimize the spread going forward.
All great points. Mark Hogshead with World Help, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, in political news tonight, Democrats are demanding an investigation into political interference at the Justice Department. This following the sentencing reduction recommendation of President Trump's longtime confidant, Roger Stone.
It's part of the growing fallout after DOJ overruled its own prosecutors who wanted a 7 to 9 year prison sentence.
A CBN News White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us with the details. Ben?
Well, Jenna, President Trump pushed back, insisting he did not speak to Attorney General William Barr about Stone's sentencing. But the recommended lesser sentence came after Trump publicly criticized the original recommendation as, quote, horrible and very unfair. 4 prosecutors did step down from the case in protest.
I want to thank the Justice Department for seeing this horrible thing. And I didn't speak to them, by the way, just so you understand. They saw the horribleness of a 9-year sentence for doing nothing. You have murderers and drug addicts. They don't get 9 years.
Now, when Trump was asked if he's considering a pardon for Stone, he replied, "I don't want to say yet." Lawmakers do plan to grill Attorney General William Barr at a hearing on Capitol Hill next month. They say this ordeal raises questions about his leadership. Jenna?
Ben, sticking with the White House, we understand a familiar face is returning back, and that is President Trump's former communications director, Hope Hicks.
John, you're right. Hicks will act as a senior advisor to the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and will work with White House political director Brian Jack. She ended her tenure as White House communications director back in March of 2018 after testifying before the House Intel Committee. The White House denied that her departure was related to her testimony. Hicks later appeared before the House Judiciary Committee related to her work on the Trump's 2016 campaign. She is considered the president's most trusted and longest-serving aide. Kushner said in a statement that there is no one more devoted in implementing President Trump's agenda than Hope Hicks. We are excited to have her back on the team. Since she left the White House here behind me, she has served as head of communications for the Fox Corporation. Her new title will be Counselor to the President. Jenna?
All right, Ben Kennedy at the White House. Thanks, Ben. Well, next up, Democrats try to find their footing in the race for the White House. Stay tuned for our Faith Nation political panel up next.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary, or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
A bipartisan move to rein in the president's military power. Today, the Senate passed the bipartisan War Powers Resolution, curbing President Trump's ability to take military action against Iran without congressional approval.
And no surprises here. It is a measure President Trump does not support. CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson joins us now from the halls of Congress. Abigail, I guess the big question here is, what can the bill do without the president's signature?
That is a good question, John. And as you said, it passed the Senate today, bipartisan support by vote of 55 to 45. A similar bill has already passed the House, but before this makes it to the president's desk, the House will actually have to retake up the same legislation that the Senate just passed today. As you said, President Trump is almost assuredly going to veto this, but it is still notable that in the House, some of the co-sponsors are President Trump's top allies, like Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida. I also spoke with Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna, one of the other co-sponsors of this legislation, who said even though President Trump will veto it, it is still significant because it sends a message to the president if he decides to take further military action in Iran without congressional approval. It sends a strong message to him, and he says they have a plan. Take a look.
We can cut off the funding. This is a clear message from Congress that he should not be getting us into another war.
I also spoke with Congressman Khanna about another big vote on the Hill today, the vote to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. Now, this has been a pretty hot topic and controversial issue this week, with even Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, coming out yesterday saying that she thinks instead of ratifying this legislation, they should just start over. But still, it was a big deal. The House voted to pass this today, and it's bringing forth unlikely allies. Some LGBTQ advocates and feminists are teaming up with conservative Christian women's groups and sounding the alarm on what the ERA, as well as the Equal Rights Amendment, will do to women's sports. They're worried this will have detrimental impacts, pointing to states like Connecticut, where biological males who identify as females are competing against females in sports like track and swimming, and wiping out records that women have set in those sports. When I asked Congressman Khanna what his response, because he supports the ERA, to their concerns is, he says this is definitely an issue that they need to look at. Take a look.
Well, there has to be common sense. I mean, what we need to do is make sure everyone has equality. Take that principle and look at all the stakeholders and have common sense that works. So I don't think we should have a one-size-fits-all solution, and we need to listen so that you're not doing something that's really going to hurt either women's sports or the LGBTQ community, and have common sense solutions.
Now, Congressman Khanna also chairs the also is the co-chair of Senator Sanders' presidential campaign. So I had to talk to him about that. And what we've seen in these past two races where Senator Sanders is proving to be the front runner in the Democrat Party is we're hearing a lot of political analysts who are suggesting that as more moderate candidates drop out, that their supporters are going to coalesce around one candidate that eventually eclipses Sanders' campaign. And Khanna says that he is not so sure that people should believe that's going to be the case.
That's what they said about President Trump, that the moderate wing of the Republicans would coalesce and Trump wouldn't get it, but that didn't work out. You know, actually, Trump recognizes Sanders' strength. He sees the crowds. He sees the online energy. I think it's a long road, but he's the front runner. He had the win in the popular vote in Iowa, and he's building the coalition that will be formidable.
And I certainly remember in 2016 people making that same argument about President Trump. So I think he does have a point with some precedent there. John, Jenna.
All right, Abigail Robertson on Capitol Hill. Thanks, Abby. Well, here now for our Faith Nation political panel, David Brody, CBN News Chief Political Analyst. David, yes, let's talk about where Abby just left off, the spat between Bernie Sanders and Democratic strategist James Carville. Carville casting down on Sanders' electability as a Democratic socialist. Sanders hitting back, calling him a political hack. How much does this reveal the real concerns some Democrats have about Bernie Sanders becoming the party's nominee?
Oh, there are real concerns, and that's all bold and in all caps for sure. Look, there's a lot of anguish right now in the Democrat Party. Will Bernie Sanders get the nomination? Why? The Green New Deal, Medicare for all of that. They're very concerned. That's not going to play well in the suburbs with those moderate women we hear all about. That's the danger. Why is it important you have moderate women? Not just because you want to win back the presidency, but you don't want to lose the House of Representatives. So this could be a double ding, if you will. And there are a lot of Democrats as well that are in those Trump districts that are very concerned about Bernie Sanders at the top of the ticket. They're feeling, if you will, a little bit of a heartburn, if you will, not feel the burn. No, some heartburn.
Yeah. David, the War Powers Resolution, President Trump, some of his biggest allies in Congress voting for it. What does this mean for the president and for future presidents when it comes to their role and what they're able to do as commander-in-chief?
No, it's a good question. Look, they've been debating this for a long time, the executive branch and the legislative. I had to think about it. I had to go back to Politics 101, the legislative branch for a long time now. And there's always been this disagreement about, does the president have the power to just declare or, to have war exercises, if you will. And that's been kind of the controversy. I don't think this is really going to do anything. First of all, let's remember the Senate's going to reject, or excuse me, not the Senate. The Senate did approve it 55-45, right, but it doesn't have the veto power. So it's not going anywhere. But it is a dink in the chisel of the armor, if you will, for future presidents, because now you have a Congress on record to say, hey, slow down, executive branch, and that could be a problem down the road.
David, the Equal Rights Amendment vote in the House likely dead on arrival in the Senate. Was this more of a symbolic move?
Yeah, for sure, but not just symbolic. It really was about abortion rights, and don't take my word for it. Take the Planned Parenthood, take NARAL, take the National Right to Life organization. They're all realizing this is a fight about abortion rights, because if you, in essence, have this Equal Rights Amendment, it's going to go towards more of a power to codify women's rights, if you will, on abortion into law. And so that's really the issue. But even Ruth Bader Ginsburg is against this. And that's not good if Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not with the ERA, because she's basically saying, look, it ran out in '82. You got to start over.
Now,
yeah.
Hope Hicks, she is returning to the White House. David, what is this signal that they're bringing her back on?
Well, it's time for an election. Let's get the band back together. I think that's a big part of it. It's loyalty in Trump world. What is it in Meet the Parents? Right here in the circle. Right here in the circle. So Hope Hicks is back in the circle. And, Trump, and this is not just with Trump, but he likes comfort. And what I mean by comfort, I don't mean, a gold-plated toilet. You know what I mean? I mean specifically people around him that make him what he believes is be at his best. And Hope Hicks has always been that person for him. So.
David, the Roger Stone DOJ story is blowing up. Yeah. How bad does this look for President Trump, and where do you think this is all headed, if you can, in about 30 seconds?
Wow, 30 seconds. Do I win a medal? I've already now wasted 5 seconds.
A gold-plated toilet.
That's right. Look, Bill Barr is going to testify in front of the House Democrats March 31st. That should say or speak volumes. What that means is they've got nothing to hide. If they had something to hide, they potentially would say, go ahead and subpoena him, and there would be a long fight. The timing is key. Was a decision made before the Trump tweet. Clearly, if Barr's testifying, the answer is going to be yes. I think this is, we move on from here. And last quick thing on this, do Democrats really want to spend more political capital on this? They've already tried to, impeach, or they did impeach the president. Now you want to go after Bill Barr until, oh my goodness, when does it stop? I'm exhausted. Heartburn.
Well, we can't go to break without saying to David, happy birthday.
Oh,
it's a big day for you.
Well, thank you. I put on makeup to, go 10 years younger. So thank you. I'm turning 25 today.
Well, on behalf of your birthday, we decided to get you a gift card to
What?
one of your favorite places. I probably can't see it, but IHOP. Don't you get a deal at IHOP
I
now?
do get a deal at IHOP. Thank you. The tilapia is phenomenal. 55 and over. Fish for the rest of my life. Omega-3.
Happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday.
That's nice, guys.
We'll be right back.
Almost like a page out of Exodus.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Well, one of the world's oldest and most destructive insects is wreaking havoc in Africa.
Hundreds of millions of locusts are eating their way across the continent, and that's putting crops, food security, and millions of lives at risk. George Thomas brings us the latest from the South African nation of Zambia.
It's almost like a page out of Exodus, the worst outbreak in decades, as billions of desert locusts swarm across a large part of Africa.
Today, locust swarms are as big as major cities, and this is getting worse by the day.
Experts say the average swarm can contain up to 150 million locusts, travel 100 miles in a single day, and grow as large as 250 football fields.
That swarm in one day can eat the same amount of food as the entire population of Kenya. That swarm in one day can eat the same amount of food as everybody here in the tri-state area, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York.
Desperate farmers in rural eastern Kenya are using blankets and other clothing or beating on pots and pans to chase away the hungry pests. But it's doing very little to stop them from devouring crops. And now the UN is warning the fast-breeding insects could grow 500 times between now and June.
I'm seeing a big catastrophe ahead and a very big food security concern if we don't address this problem.
Caught in the path, some 19 million people who already deal with severe food shortages now face another looming catastrophe. The United Nations sending urgent appeals while infected countries deploy thousands of troops and use planes to spray pesticides against the destructive bugs.
It gives you a sense of the scale of the crisis we are facing, and we need to address it immediately.
Today, the countries of Sudan, Eritrea, Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya are facing what experts say is the worst locust infestation in nearly 70 years. But for local farmers further south in countries like here in Zambia, they're facing another crisis, and it's a crisis of a lack of water. 2 years of little to no rain and failed harvest have forced 28-year-old Concepta Hamalombo to abandon her cornfields again this year. She's among some 2 million in this country facing food insecurity.
I didn't harvest any crops last year or this year due to the drought, which forced me to look for work elsewhere. I've been going door to door asking people in my village for work just so I can buy some food.
World Vision, the Christian aid group, is distributing maize meal, drought-resistant maize seed, and cowpeas to families hardest hit by the drought here.
There's not enough water to generate electricity, so businesses and companies have 15 hours, 16 hours of no electricity a day. That also has an impact on people being able to earn money. That has an impact on being able to buy food.
While locusts haven't hit Zambia yet, farmers here worry the massive swarm sweeping across much of East Africa could fly further south, bringing destruction to a region already reeling from extreme weather. George Thomas, CBN News, Southern Province, Zambia.
Wow. Well, coming up, how one man's mission to avenge his son became a battle to save his community.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
And finally tonight, the drug-related murder of his son sends a Christian father and pharmacist in New Orleans on a mission for justice.
Netflix's new documentary, The Pharmacist, puts the spotlight on Dan Schneider's fight against phony prescriptions for painkillers.
And I saw this opiate epidemic in its infancy. I'm not going to let this drug continue to kill.
The 4-part series premiered last Wednesday on Netflix.
That looks pretty powerful.
Yeah, moving.
Well, that does it for tonight's Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.